Hello again, Devils. What better way to get over a desperate derby defeat than an enticing trip to Stoke? Well, that's what it is anyway on the agenda. We tried to get a Stoke fan on for this preview, couldn't find one. To be honest, it's not about that though, is it? It's about the Manchester derby. Reviewing that, we've got 4 stellar Devils on to do just that. Justin and Sam, regulars, joined by Tobias, big FIFA YouTuber, and sports journalist Pete Hall, both making their debuts. Good to have you on. Gents, Justin, to you first as a stalwart. How bad was that?
Yeah, well, it was pretty bad. I was looking forward to the derby. I was looking forward to putting the results against Madrid and Chelsea behind us. But I just felt we didn't really get going. I felt we were pretty flat. We rallied a little bit after the Jones goal, but all in all, I hate to say it, I thought City were a team that looked like they wanted it more.
And Pete, you were telling me as well, you've been saying this for ages, haven't you? Great squad, but you're not sure about the team.
Yeah, last night we just looked, we weren't at the races, were we? I mean, we can't complain about our season by any stretch of the imagination, but City were, Justin's right, they're the best team last night, and we just couldn't compete at times, and they were passing it around with ease, and Yaya Toure was making us look silly in midfield at times last night. And so disappointing, derby day, no matter if the league's sewn up or not, whether you believe that or not, is the biggest day of the year as a Mancunian, as a United fan, and to just not show up like that was bitterly disappointing.
We could always be our harsh stone critics, can't we, Tobias? But do you think maybe we are a flat track bully this season? Perhaps, you know, dare we say it, City's still got the best starting 11?
Oh yeah, but people are being critical to United, but we need to remember that's what, 12 points with only 6 or 7 games remaining. So I think we've got it, I don't want to say in the bag because we all know what happened last season, but I think people are worrying a little bit more than they need to be. And I'm pretty confident that is in the bag already.
But Sam, on the back of Chelsea, Madrid, you know, is a 12-point gap, is that a bit of a smokescreen at the moment? Do you fear?
No, it's not a smokescreen. It's because we did so well at the start of the season. But there is a big hangover coming from Madrid, and we're still right in the middle of it. But we can fix it with a nice win at Stoke at the weekend. Justin,
players playing for their places, their future, because we're trying to work out how many players have had a good season this year. It's probably only a handful, which is weird given the league table.
I think the wingers especially haven't had a really good season. I think they've been really out of form. I think Nani, Ashley Young and Tony Valencia at times have been disappointing.
Pete, what do you think? 3 goals, you're the stats man as well. 3 goals in last 4 games, 2 of them have been own goals. People blaming Van Persie, but is it those wingers and other people just not helping him out?
Well, I mean, as wingers, their job is to create. And with Ashley Young, Nani and Valencia, between them, they've contributed to only 9 goals this season. That's scoring and assists, which is not good enough. And we were saying earlier on how the likes of David Beckham used to come in with 23, 24, 25 assists a season. And then we can't do that. Those 3 can't do it between them. It isn't good enough.
Yeah, Tobias, you're obviously big on FIFA. Do you think you sign any United players at the moment? Any of them, you know, decent form? It's been a bit of a downward trend the last couple of months, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we brought in Van Persie this season, and everyone has been critical at how many goals he's scored recently in the last few weeks. But I mean, it's his first season at United. He's come over from Arsenal, and personally, in my personal opinion, I think he's made a great debut season for United. I mean, I would hate to compare it to Torres moving over to Chelsea, but everyone saw the way he changed when he moved from Liverpool to Chelsea.
Yeah,
and
broken man.
But players can change completely. I mean, he's entered a new squad, and the way he's played this season at United, I think we can't have any complaints whatsoever. I mean, the goals speak for themselves. Yeah, he's going through a dry season at the moment. The last few weeks, he's been struggling to find the back of the net, but I think a lot of people are being too critical on Van Persie in the last few weeks. But that's my personal opinion, though.
Will he make the boys' teams own gut feeling? Now he gets a couple of lads to pick their teams. We're going to start with Justin. Justin, you give us your team. Let's start with the back 4. Obviously, De Gea has been, I guess, one of the star players, along with a couple of the defenders this season. Across the back 4, if Vidic is fit, you're going with an old-timers at the heart of things.
Yeah, if Vidic is fit, I'd always pick him. I think he's one of the best defenders in the world on his day. So I've got no qualms about that. But if he's not fit, I'd have Johnny Evans in there.
Yeah, and what about midfield as well? Because Phil Jones great the other night, centre-half, Fergie Raven back, but you've put him up in a holding position. Because we got overrun a little bit in there, didn't we, again? Well,
the thing I'm thinking of here is, like you say, we got overrun against City. I know City's midfield is a completely different animal to Stoke's. I'm not no disillusions about that. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, you've got Yaya Toure. You haven't got Yaya Toure playing for Stoke. But I think if you have Jones alongside Carrick, then not only does it let Carrick get forward a bit more, it also allows Kagawa, who I've got in there as in the hole, to stay in the hole and not have to drift back to get hold of the ball, because you've got the two holding midfielders.
And Nani and Valencia, what, they must have a point to prove, mustn't they, this game?
You know, a few weeks ago we would have been saying that it was Valencia had a point to prove. Now it's Nani again after his performance at Chelsea. So I think they've both got a bit of a point to prove, especially Nani after what, for me, the game against Chelsea was one of his worst ever. So I'd put them in and ask them to sort of show what they can do.
And you got Rooney up top? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer Rooney as a striker. I've said all along. I know some people think he can play midfield, but I think he's a much better player when he plays up front. Also, I think out of the two strikers, he's the one that's in form out of him and Van Persie. So I'd start him up top against Stoke. Yeah,
he got a couple of goals, didn't he, against Stoke early in the season, that 4-2 game. Pete, your reactions to that, before we hear your team, your thoughts on that quickly?
Well, I see what he's saying about Rooney, but I don't think he can play up front on his own. I mean, he's a good. I prefer him as a striker as well. He's a goal scorer, isn't he? But he can't. When he's played up front on his own, he hasn't been the same type of player. He needs someone that can feed off and use their movement as well, like a Hernandez. And I just don't think that Rooney up top on his own, I don't think it'd work. But I do agree that.
Sorry to interrupt. You say that about Rooney though, but in the season that he scored all those goals, 34 goals, there was times when he played on his own, and also he's got Kagawa just behind him in the hole there. So I think Rooney can do a job up top on his own. Don't necessarily think he needs an Hernandez or a Van Persie alongside him.
Rooney, not surprising, doesn't make Pete's team. But what about that? What about your team then, Pete? Let's bring it in, because the striker is I guess the focal point, and you've gone for Javier Hernandez. Can he do that as a low man?
Well, yeah, he's got a good record against Stoke, and he's scored. He's been a bit harshly treated this season. I think when he's played, he's more often than not scored goals. He's got 8 league goals this season. He's only started 6 games. Yeah, he's got a lot of goals off from the bench. So with Stoke's poor form, Hernandez's record at Stoke, then why not give him a go and then keep the options on the bench if it doesn't work?
Tobias, where do you stand on this debate? The boys divided between Rooney and Hernandez as lone strikers, no Van Persie.
I'd completely agree. I think Hernandez deserves more starting. Obviously, as you just said, Van Persie has been playing a lot of international recently. He's been tired, his form isn't on, and I just think this would be the perfect opportunity to get Hernandez starting. And we've all seen what Rooney and Hernandez can do as a partnership, and I think that needs to be started a lot more. And I think play him up against Stoke, and I reckon he'll score a couple of goals.
Yeah, well, let's bring in Sam, because Sam has been quiet for a little bit. Sam, what do you make of those teams? And particularly Pete putting Giggsy in there. I mean, if you can't catch up with Gareth Barry, I'm not sure you need 2 games in a week, do you?
No, I would play Giggs.
You would?
Out of our wingers,
yeah.
Giggs is definitely my first choice, because he's been playing fantastic this season. He's kind of stuck it to his critics, because, you know, all 39, is he past it? Is he past it? No. Put him in the centre of midfield against Man City. Yes, he's going to get outplayed.
Yeah,
because he's 39. But one thing I want to talk about with Pete is if you don't want to play Rooney up top on his own, then I'm not sure why you would play Hernandez there, because I'd say that he's even less effective as a lone striker. He needs someone to play off him, I think, to get the best out of him.
I see your point, but the attribute that why I've got Hernandez up there is that he plays so far up top that he pushes the defence back. He's offside so often because he literally plays behind the defence, and it drags the defence back. And if we can get Kagawa in that hole that Hernandez will create, he can create the chances for Hernandez to score, hopefully. And that's the plan anyway.
I did always think that Kagawa was the exact player that Hernandez needed, that person who can just, silkily lift it over the top.
What do you think, boys? Any thoughts on that as a possible strike partnership, perhaps for the future, those two, Tobias?
I think I don't get on this season. Sorry, why Rooney and Hernandez haven't been played together. I mean, their partnership for me is probably one of the greatest partnerships I've seen, especially in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Hernandez's first season at United. I mean, the amount of the goals he scored, and he's just a goal poacher. He's just there when you need him. I mean, we saw earlier this season when we were playing Newcastle when I don't know if he started or not, or whether he came on as a sub, but when we needed him most, he was there and he got that equaliser, and we even went on to win that match. And I just don't get why it's the exact same case as Nani, for example. They're 2 great players from previous seasons for United, and I don't think they've been given the playing time that they deserve. And I mean, especially Hernandez over Nani. Hernandez can bag goals when he's needed, especially in that Fergie time.
Yeah, what do you think, Justin? Talk about the strike partnership and that Kagawa Hernandez, or what do you think, Hernandez Rooney?
Well, the thing with Hernandez, I think in a way he's a victim of his own success. You know, I used to hear the same thing about Solskjaer. He'd come off the bench, he'd score goals, and everyone should say he should be starting. And I think with Hernandez, sometimes he's better as an impact player. I think he'd probably get a lot more starts if it wasn't for the fact we've got players like Robin van Persie, like Wayne Rooney, like Danny Welbeck who can play up front. So for me, I prefer Hernandez coming off the bench. But saying that, if the strikers continue not scoring, then I think he does deserve to start.
Well, gents, it's come to that time well to nail our colours to the mast. Prediction time. No one got it right, needless to say, in the derby predictions. I'm going 2-0 for United, though. Stoke, 1 win in 2013. Pete, kick us off. What have you got?
Right, I always go get a bit carried away and get a little bit biased on my predictions, and I'm going to continue with that. So I'm going to go with 4-0 United.
Justin,
very comfortable.
4-0 to United. We'll finally get some goals. Justin, your prediction, Michael Owen to haunt us or anything else?
No, I think that would be a bit of a miracle if that happens. But yeah. I'll go 1-0 United. I think it might be a bit of a scrappy affair. I'm going to go 1-0 Wayne Rooney.
Yeah. Continuing, Sam, what have you got for us?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go for 2-0. Hernandez loves scoring against Stoke, and given how poor they've been in front of goal, I don't think there's a threat to us conceding.
Smart move.
2-0 for me. Smart
move, agreeing with the host. And what have you got, Tobias?
I'm going to go with the 3-1. I'm not keeping that clean sheet. I think we might concede one, but it's going to be a guaranteed win. I reckon Ferguson's going to push for it just to secure it, and it's going to be a high scorer, and it's going to be 3-1. Yeah,
United's unbeaten record against Stoke in the Premier League to continue. Poor old Stoke might be relegated. What a shame. Great to have you on, boys. Tobias, great to have you make your debut. And Pete, remember to check out Tobias Gaming's YouTube channel as well. Remember to subscribe to our channel if this is your first time here. Check us out on Facebook as well. We'll see you next time.
United fans, you know what to do. Click the button and subscribe to get involved.